What's going on, Cancer? I salute the divinity in you, and welcome to the Chariot Friends. Justin here, and how you feeling? The moon is in Leo, and I find that this can be a very invigorating time. One, to check to see what has been fueling you, what's been driving you, and have the things have, because this is an interesting kind of full moon here. We're definitely going to get into that with the sun being in its detriment. We'll talk about that more here in a moment. But if you're new here, again, my name is Justin, and know that when you're coming across this video, you're in sync with the moon, and she loves that. But this is also a place for you if you happen to have Cancer in your placements, sun, moon, rising, wherever. This one's for you. And I do tarot card spreads based on that lovely luminary, the good old moon. And I'll talk about what sign she's in, what phase she's in, and when she's going void. Of course, there's all them lunar shenanigans. And just so you're all aware, this is a general reading, not a one-to-one. So take what fits into your story, discard the rest, and everything will be dope, Cancer. Now, let's jump into it. Because, yes, and this is, yeah, again, I think there's a lot to really think about with this full moon. But before we get into that, and I'm going to shuffle for your general energy of the day here. But depending on when you're watching this, happy Moon Day. The moon is associated with Mondays, and I find that on the Moon Day, I think one thing too. Give me one moment. Thanks, Spirit. I think one thing to consider on a Moon Day is to check in with how you're feeling on a real basic level. The moon can deal with or what that especially covers is our emotions and the constant flux that happens with them. And I think that a moon day, it can be just a great kind of recalibration day to kind of do some kind of self-care things, maybe clean up the house, to do some decluttering, whatever that looks like. Even just going out and maybe doing some chores. This can be, the moon can deal with the people, considering that she's the closest celestial body to the earth. So she's very intimately connected with all of us here. So maybe even just like if you find yourself maybe even kind of feeling in a low, maybe going to somewhere, like going to a park where people are kind of, they're going to just go have fun, to commit some leisure, and that can maybe even help you get into a better vibration, especially if you've been feeling kind of like, ugh, Monday. I like Mondays. I was born on a moon day. But another thing that I like to think about on these planetary days, and there's I'm about to get a book here soon, but there are even some hymns that you can work with they're called the Orphic hymns, and planet that kind of helps channel that planetary energy. It's really, really, really cool. But I like to take a moment and think about too, and maybe even throughout the day, just like, what is my relationship with my moon placement? What sign is your moon in? What house is she in? And even I like to pay attention to like how moon transits are. And the moon moves fast. She's only in a sign about 2.5 days roughly at a time. So this could be just like getting a general idea. Like, I know when the moon is in Leo, she's gonna hit up. I got like 5 placements of Leo, so she's gonna hit that up. She'll hit my midheaven up, have a square there. But it's a pretty solid time. She trines there's a sextile between my natal moon, so Leo times are pretty dope. And it's just like more so that square with the midheaven is just like, what do you want to do with all that? So I do like a moon in Leo, but maybe you notice, like, maybe you have, like me, maybe you have more kind of Scorpio, or not like me, I don't have a bunch of Scorpio placements, but maybe you have more Scorpio or more Taurus placements where that Leo would be kind of more conflicting, or maybe more kind of active there. So, again, or maybe you have Sag placements, and that's going to be, again, a lot of movement with the moon. So, yeah, to see what your relationships is with as the moon, traverses through each of these kind of signs. It can be really kind of fascinating to watch, and pay attention to how people react under certain moons. When moon is in Aries, if people are feeling more energized, or when it's in an air sign, they're feeling more talkative, water, a little more introverted, a little more emotional. So just some things to just kind of observe there. Now let's continue these lunar shenanigans, because on the 10th of February, the moon is going to be entering into Leo at about 9 a.m., and that's going to be Pacific time. And I'll talk about the full moon phase here in a moment, but I wanted to talk about Leo first, because the sun and the moon are the only are the only celestial bodies that only rule one sign. And when we talk about Leo's ruled by the sun, and the sun is that higher mind. It's that spirit that fuels the body. And so the fact that that the sun is at home in Leo, that fixed fire, it's holding on to that will of spirit, and Leo's able to, I, with that masculine energy, just express that. There's just an ease. I think that wherever they happen to have Leo in their chart, that area tends to really flow with ease. The sun really shines there, I find, with Leo. And I think with the moon in Leo, this can be looking at where what have you been, again, looking at the theme of this house, what have you been fueling into this house, and how can you further nurture that? Is this really in alignment with your divine, within your alignment, with your true self? And let's talk about the full moon, because that's going to be happening on Mercury Day, because this is kind of tying into that there. But on a Mercury Day, that's Wednesday, the 12th of February, the full moon is going to be happening at 5:54 a.m. And again, that's Pacific time. And it's going to be happening at 24 degrees and 6 minutes. So if you have any planets or points around there, this full moon may be working with you more personally. This actually, I have Mars at 25 degrees of Leo. So this is actually happening. This is pretty close here. And then looking at that Mercury, I got Venus at 28 degrees of Leo, so there's a lot going on here for me. But this helps you get eyes on things. But the full moon is when, as you can see, the planets are in opposite signs from one another. And the sun right now is in its detriment in Aquarius. It's furthest away from its home sign of Leo. Is because I think that in where the sun has a hard time in Aquarius is it's easy to, I think, easier sometimes to express spirit as opposed to kind of hold that vision, to conceptualize it, like I think that needs to happen in Aquarius there. It's like, how do you put the grand design on a vision board, when there's so many things that you want to do, I think, and so many things that you are and can be. And I think that's why the sun may sometimes have, because when a planet is in detriment, it just means that it's in a foreign land, but you can still work with it. Aquarius may just have to take this plan by different steps there. And I think that moon is checking in an opposition, looking at the choices that you've made. Have they been supporting that grand vision, for whether this is for the lunar cycle, or maybe this is for something bigger in just like kind of life things? And have the things that you've been focused on, have they been promoting that growth? Have they been fueling that sunlight? Have they, again, been holding that vision there? And I think that this is important that Mercury's there too. It's separating from the sun, from that conjunction, but Mercury's starting to pick up again. It's starting to take the grand scheme forward before it goes retrograde here in about a month, little over a month or so. I think it's like February, or not February, March something or another. But I think that this full moon here, there's another thing. I think that's all I wanted to talk about on the chart there. But I wanted to get into the Sabian symbol of this as well. And Sabian symbols are basically, there's a book on it. I should have had this ready, because I usually talk about it on these things. One book that you can get is an astrological mandala. This Dane Rudd here. It's a really cool, I think, add-on for the astrology. It adds some nuance. It adds every degree has an energy behind it, has a message behind it, and it's just something. It was a channeled. It's a whole thing. So definitely check that out if that's something that interests you. But this is phase 145 of Leo, where the moon is falling, and this talks about a large camel is seen crossing a vast and forbidding desert. And the keynote for this is self-sufficiency in the face of a long and exhausting journey. Now, life sometimes can be long and exhausting, or did I say journey, adventure, same thing. But this is no surprise. I think that when you think about a camels, they store up their water. And I'm thinking about literal water, and I'm also thinking about the kind of cosmic water, the sort of things that you've been allowing into your energy. And I think that this is has the way that you've been going, is this really going to help you get through? Because there are going to be times where things fluctuate, and it's just like, how do you maintain that fixed energy? How do you maintain an equilibrium in the face of what seems just like chaos? And I think that this really does come into a very kind of practical approach as well. Let's say if you live in an area that may be prone to maybe droughts, maybe making sure to have some extra water, or if you tend to have power outages, having generators, or just having more non-perishable food, investing in just like rice, beans, canned goods, things along those lines. There's a number of ways that I think that this full moon just kind of asks you to look at. Do you have a first aid kit? And it's not to put this sense of fear, but again, it's just to more so, again, look at specifically where this is falling in your chart. But I think that this can apply to something just kind of more larger themes here with this Sabian symbol here, because you may have noticed this too, but there are things are changing, and I think that is something, if you really think about, you get what I mean. And with where things are changing, it's just like, how am I getting ready for these shifts? How do I feel? Do I feel comfortable with these shifts with where I'm at right now? Or do I need to start making some different moves here, making some better decisions, start doing, just moving wherever this is applying for, just something I think to just kind of meditate on there. Because it is something where it may be feels sometimes a bit long and exhausting, but it's moving. It's moving, and I think we're in a really unique pocket right now to make some real advancements to help us get through whatever's to come. So just some things to think about there. And if you're wanting to work with these lunar cycles more closely, work with your moon placement more closely, maybe you happen to have your moon in Leo, you're in a lunar return here, down in the description box below, there's a link for all the services that I provide, so definitely check that out. And I think that's all I got for you there. So let me adjust this and we'll switch over. Bam. But last couple of things here, these readings that I do, they're not gender specific readings, so apply these energies to people as they make sense for your situation. And I'm going to ring this bell to bring in some good vibes here, so adjust your volume if you need to, but let's give this a ring and get into this. Alright, let's see what's going on here. Speaking of a long journey, get it, Spirit. So, you have the Nine of Wands here. And the Nine of Wands can feel sometimes a bit battered, a bit like it's like had to roll with the punches there. Always had to be kind of on guard, I think, sometimes at the Nine of Wands. But there's a certain strength that the Nine of Wands calls as well here. A not needing to be, like, I'm getting a call here to, again, it's not to be acting from a place of like anxiety, but it's more so like, okay, noticing where there are trends that are happening. This is one way this is coming, where there are trends that are happening. How I sense these things are going on, how can I make sure that I'm staying in balance, in equilibrium in a sense. Maybe if this is noticing that maybe like different social media or different news tends to invoke a lot of stress. Maybe this is now, kind of cutting down on that. Maybe not doing that while listening to something different, maybe while you eat, or listening to something different before you go to bed, winding down a bit differently, or even waking up a bit differently could be one way that this could be kind of coming through here. But I think that there is a question here of, again, of how you've been balancing. Like, I think there's a sensing that something is a bit off. Like, maybe there hasn't been moderation is the word that I'm getting. I'm thinking temperance card. Because this is the moon in Sagittarius here, the nine of wands, but and again, this Nine of Wands really can just feel just a bit tired. Like, again, having to be in a place where you have to balance all of the things, being alert for all of the stuff. Like, you got work to maybe think about, got bills to think about, maybe there's children to think about, home, the stuff that are just like all the life things. And I think that maybe there's something that even there, just like how do you restore yourself? How do you get back? How do you get that? What rejuvenates you? Maybe in a sense, maybe it's working in some more sort of something like that. But let's see what's going on here. Interesting. Spirit. So you have the Queen of Swords here. And I'm getting just this thing of like expecting the worst. But I think the Queen of Swords here is a need to kind of look at some ways that she can get back her peace. There's some things that maybe she needs to eliminate. And these things that maybe these decisions that she needs to do, these adjustments that need to be made, they might make her feel, I like the word forlorn, which I don't use that word like that. So that's something that's coming through there. But yeah, just like she's feeling upset about something. But I think in the grand scheme of things, she understands that this move was a necessary one. And I think there's something about this Nine of Wands as standing steadfast and staying strong in the decision that maybe this Queen of Swords is having to make or has had to make. Let's get a clarifier. Ooh, interesting. Mother and daughter here. Thanks, Spirit. So you have the Princess of Swords. And the Princess of Swords, she's can be at odds with something. I find that the Princess of Swords can, especially when she's on the defensive, she's sharp, and I think sometimes to her detriment. There's can be a lot of chaos sometimes, I think, with the Princess of Swords, and this is giving me like a bit of a reverting type of energy, or maybe even some sort of theme that's been kind of maybe even passed on here. Just thinking just between the relationship between the Queen of Swords and the Princess of Swords here. But the Princess of Swords, I think, has an opportunity to correct something, because she can recognize the patterns and. I will say, starting off with such very potent, air figures here, I think that because sometimes when we're in kind of an exhausted place too, that the mind can be a tricky place to navigate sometimes, especially when it hasn't been able to get enough rest, or maybe it's been overstressed, or something along those lines there. So I think that there is this thing of not pushing yourself too hard. I think there's something there too as well, or in paying attention to maybe to how others are kind of pushing themselves, and maybe even helping to change the narrative of the people around you. That might be something else let's get some more on this. Ooh, very interesting. Thanks, Spirit. So you have the Nine of Swords here. And things are really kind of progressing. It's really the Nine of Swords is a pretty tough card. This is where we're really kind of really stuck in the head. This is this is where the anxieties are really at their form because you do, there's nothing but swords, mental energy that's coming on here. I think there's a conversation that's needing to be had here with someone. That's one thing that's kind of coming through. There's something that may even change a dynamic here, because I think that this Nine of Wands is really kind of getting fed up with something. And it's just like, it's just tired. I think just tired of being on guard. I There's a lot of feelings in this Nine of Swords here that I think are, something's materializing here. Let me get a clarifier with this Nine of Swords. Interesting. So you got the Ace of Cups here, and I think I said that there was something emotional there. So this Ace of Cups, I think this is the root. The aces are the roots of the elements. It's the root of water, of the emotional path, you have the feelings, and there's something here that's. I think, again, apply it to your situation, but this, maybe not, it's not necessarily something that's running deep, but it's just like it's needing some love applied to it. And I think that the thoughts are starting to spill over here. And I think there's a release, I think, that's wanting to happen here with the Ace of Cups. This is a lovely card. I really do like the Ace of Cups. And there's even a sense of peace that's wanting to come, I think, with this Ace of Cups, like something to assuage the mind here. Let's get another card on this. Oh, thanks, Faye. Look at Aquarius. Got the Star card here, and I like this because the Star card is the card after the Tower, and I think this is wishing for something, for things to improve. I think this is finding ways to hold that vision. Because, again, like, I think that really comes back to that full moon where there are going to be things that are, of course, that are going to challenge, the course of where you're trying to go. But there are ways for you to get through them. I think it's like it's finding that having that North Star and letting that be the thing that guides you. And I'm even getting a feeling here like something's been taken away, but it's there. And it's like maybe those things were just like a little disorienting, but something's trying to get back centered, I think, is what's happening here. Let's get a clarifier with the Star. Ooh. But this is a lot of air that's going on through here. Thanks, Spirit. Because you got the Adjustment card here, which is Libra. And this is things getting back into balance. This is showing that I think that I just ran into someone not too long ago, and they said this statement. I heard this before, but it rang different, where they were just like, they were doing a good deed, but in that they ended up dropping their coffee, and they go to say, well, looks like no good deed goes unpunished, and I was just like, well, I mean that's not true, because I mean here I am, yeah, sure, maybe we might be out of coffee, but you got someone here that came to help you out, that you weren't just like people, you just weren't observed there, like things always balance out, even if it seems like it's, the situation wasn't that great, but can made a friend in the moment, felt a sense of community, to know that that someone was willing to just help out in that moment, if it was just like a brief moment there. But that's something I'm getting, like a justice is served, in the sense of like things always balance out. But I do think that there is something here too about seeing what is out of whack, because something has been, I think, very like potentially very draining, or something has been, it's like been trying to juggle some things with this Nine of Wands here, and it just seems like you're just always on the defense, and it's wanting to switch to the offense, so that you don't have to be in this defensive position all the time here. Just something about that may be there. Let's get some advice from the sun. Ooh. Thanks, Spirit. Okay. So you got the Ten of Wands here. We're reaching the end of things. And I think that some advice, if you got a lot going on in your head, or at some point, and just things just really feel out of whack, and you're just like you're carrying too much, allow yourself to lighten the load for a moment, and just to allow yourself to regroup. I'm getting is one thing that's coming through with the Ten of Wands there. But I am also getting this thing too of seeing something through to completion. That sometimes I think when we're doing this journey, when we're on this adventure, and we get to those places where things feel heavy, things feel oppressive, things feel just like the walls are kind of closing in, that there is a purpose to this. Like, when we get on the other side of that, whatever the maybe tough patch is, there is something, even if it's just some kind of even if it's just some sort of wisdom, just some a better understanding of the journey. I'm not, but I do think that something is coming to a close here. But I do think that we need to lighten the load, but let's get a clarifier with this. Thanks, Spirit. And that's interesting. A lot of Saturn energy in this little pocket here. But you have that's even, I'm just looking at your minors, and it's all the malefics are out. But Saturn, heavy Saturn here, Mars, but you got the Three of Swords here. Let's switch over. Because we're the Three of Swords, it can be a sorrowful card, but I think that this is, you may have gone through something, but you got something from it. I don't think that this was just meant to be a sorrowful thing. Like, I almost think I really think that it's like it's one of those things I like to say, that in the moment something may not feel great, but then when you're able to look back on it again in hindsight, and it may take some time. It's not always like a big thing. It just might just be in little chunks, but things start to make sense. Why this needed to close out, why this thing needed to be happen, in order for the path that you were meant to go on, for that to open up. Like, this. I think that's all I got for you. There's something to think about there. But if you like that, if anything, this is a lot to work on. But if you like that, if anything resonated with you, give it a thumbs up and share this if you know someone. Oh, maybe this thumbs up, but share this if you know somebody who would get some nuggets of wisdom out of this. And then subscribe there, you star. Hit that bell button to get notified on all these videos each day. And I'm going to shuffle for your surprise cards here. But if you want to know what's going on with the other celestial bodies, how to work with with the transits more personally. Okay, got 2 cards for you today. But if you want to work with the transits more personally, down in the description box is a link for my other channel, Alchemist Date, where I do that, and I also do these planetary videos with different planets and different signs and different houses. So if that's something you're curious with, if you have that placement and you want to know a little bit more about it, some things to think about or some things that you want to add to it and talk about how you've worked with it, I add those in playlists there on the channel as well. But let's go ahead and get into your surprise card. Thanks, Spirit. Get into your surprise cards here. Interesting. Well, it's so you have the mystery card and a burden card. And how I read that was the mystery of the burden. And I think that when you do reach a spot that does feel heavy, that is just a burden, that's just, I think that it's maybe even learning to how to carry things differently, maybe with that 10 of Wands, that 3 of Swords to the 10 of Wands, that you'll be able to look back at something and it won't feel as heavy. I think once you get some time behind it. And I think that the mysteries of why that situation happened comes to make sense, And I say this having someone who deals with, I have the Sun and South Node in the 12th house in Cancer. So these are things that are always on my mind. They're more prevalent in my world. And especially in I notice in the charts that I work with, I work with a lot of 12th house, 8th house, 6th house sort of situations there. So but we all go through them. I think that's not a mystery. We all go through them and we all handle them differently. And I think that there's a reminder there that when it's your turn to shoulder the burden, I'm there for you, and then vice versa. I think there's something that can be kind of heartening there. Even this glyph, it's just up here. So there's just like a one line away from being underneath it for being the sign of Libra, being the adjustment card. And I think that that good deeds do go noticed and they do get rewarded as well. There's something I think there with that too. But yeah, that's all I got for you there. Something to think about. But until next time, keep raising that vibration and keep eyes on that moon. And I will catch you on the next one. When am I gonna catch you? Mercury Day.